Hey, folks that make stuff. I'm sharing another make here. You're watching me bring a static character into the background of a scene here. It's just a body that does not move. The arms are nothing on it moves. It's just an image. And I'll bring a head in and drop it on so that it can move its head just a little bit in the background. There won't be any blinking or any of that type of thing in that character there. What you're looking at there is a little bit of parenting. You pull up the schematics window and parent the head to the body so that if something happens, I decide to move the body around, the head will go with it. And I'm going to do a little bit of a chair swap there. The chair that was there was faced the wrong way, I think. So I decided I would prefer to have it face the other way. And then looks like I bring in like a plate and a Pop-Tart. The goal of this project was to mess around a little bit with some crossfades and a little bit with the video importing features. So you're going to see a little bit of that. I actually wrote the story on this one. It wasn't just something thrown together. And this first segment here, it's actually sped up quite a bit. Which is kind of nice because I don't really move this fast. It makes it look like I know what I'm doing. So you can see that I'm adding a glass there, and I'm going to try to put some milk in there. But you're going to watch me struggle with that here for a little bit. For some reason it won't color, for some reason it won't color. I mess with it a little bit. I delete the layer and try to make sure the opacities run up on it. Maybe I got the color wrong, or maybe it's just a fill. Maybe I got the layer in the wrong order or something. I don't know. I'm messing with it there, but here in a moment you'll see what happened. This is a quirk of Tahoma. Adobe didn't do it this way. I'm not really sure why Tahoma does it this way. When I zoom out, what you see there is that the glass is outside of the camera's view. So when I drag the glass back into the camera's view, for some reason it allows me to draw in that layer now. I'm not sure why it does that, but if you're not in the camera's view, you cannot draw in Tahoma. Now there is some place in the settings where you go in the preferences and you tell it that you want to do that, and I didn't do it for this particular project at this time. I just moved the glass over into the spot, put the milk in. Here I opened up the schematics because I'm going to parent the milk to the glass. That way when I move the glass around, the milk just goes with it. Now I can move the milk back into its place and the milk goes with it, and it's still there. So I'm not sure what the deal is with that on Tahoma. I don't know why they would make it to where you can't draw outside the camera view, but that's what was happening there. Now it looks like I'm coming in here. I'm going to import an MPEG 4. So these are prepared MPEGs. They are 1 minute long to go along with the video. You can see that, and I believe that this might be sped up a little bit, so it may not take as long, and it just popped up there. But you can see that it takes a little bit of time, and I'm going to tell you that if you're doing this, that when you tell it to import, just leave the machine alone until it imports, because if you do something with it, Tahoma likes to crash whenever you do this. So make sure just to tell it to import and then be patient and wait, because it will pop up. It just takes a few minutes. And I've had a video import that was a couple minutes long, and it worked. So I don't know how much it'll do, but for the 1 minute videos that I'm doing, it seems to work great. You can import the video and then just size into its place. That looks like there's a TV running in the background there. Alright, so now I'm making camera adjustments. This is making decisions on what will actually export whenever I tell the software to render. I put James back in his place so I can see about where it's going to be, and you'll see why here in a bit. So I'm going to render what I'm going to call B-roll. I don't know what else to call it, but all I really wanted out of this render was a little bit of the cats playing and a zoom out. And James will not be in this render. Oh, there it goes. And now I'm going to add James back in. And I need to add his lines. So I'm just hiding a few objects there. That far left row next to your columns indicate whether it's visible in the render or not, and the one right next to it indicates whether it's visible on the stage. And having less things visible on the stage makes it to where I can view this and it doesn't drop as many frames.
Hey chatbot, hello
So
JP.
they're still there.
I can't
They're
help
just
but
hiding,
notice
so
the
the
adorable
software will run a little bit smoother.
videos.
I'm setting in James's lines, and there was particular time frames that these needed to happen in so that the video in the background matches somewhat to the video in the background on the other side, on the other view of the camera. I wasn't too particular, but I didn't want it to be in totally different areas of the video whenever you put all it together. So I just exploded James's puppet. One of the quirks of this software I found is that whenever you add the audio in to a subscene, that you have problems with the export. It won't export the audio. So I've been exploding the characters used in the scene and dropping their lines into the characters. So you see all the parts of James all lined up there on the left, and I'm just dropping his lines on that top column. And telling it to lip sync now at this point. going to come through and I'm going to readjust the camera. One of the tricks that I'm going to try here is to keep the camera in the same position. So I just move that keyframe. Make sure not to move the actual camera itself. You'll see I moved the camera there, and I'm guessing that I go back and do some undos because I decided that's not the way to do it. There we go. Now I'm going down there at the bottom. See, I want it to end there, so I'm going to get rid of that keyframe. That needs to disappear, and I'm going to drag that one all the way to the left. Maybe. There we go. Now, so the camera is the same exact spot as where it zoomed out at on my B-roll.
Hey, chap.
So when I render this one, everything will line up. The TV will line up with the B-roll. Wednesday Addams in the background. The door will line up, and James will be able to appear.
Hey, chatbot. Hello, JP.
Alright, so evidently I did too many undos at some point, and I undid my lip sync. So I'm going back and re-lip syncing James. That happens. Hit undo too many times, and there we are. So luckily it doesn't take anything to make that right. And now we're going to come up and we're going to render the James lines. Alright, that rendered, and we're going to take a look at it and see what came out.
Hey, chatbot. Hello, JP. I can't help but notice the adorable cut videos. The kittens are certainly more welcoming. In fact, I am finding it hard to look away.
Alright, you see that didn't render the way you would expect, but right away I seen that and I knew exactly what happened. This is another quirk of Tahoma. I'm not exactly sure why it does this, but I go back in here. You go back in here and you go look at the end of where the mouths are synced up, and for some reason it drops the last frame. And I don't know why it does this, but you see I go over here and click on the last frame. Actually, I take that back. I decided I wanted to move this, so I copy and pasted all. I deleted all this and moved it a little bit first. You see, I'm going to delete that line, and I'm just going to reinsert it a few seconds later. For some reason here, I decided I wanted it to show up. I wanted it to come on a little bit later. Alright, so now I go back and I resync the lips. right there at the end of that vocal line, you see that it drops the mouth frame for some reason. So I'm just going to get rid of that keyframe that told it to stop there. Now whenever it renders, the mouth will be will stay on. So go back and render that a second time. And I am having it render less frames so it doesn't take quite as long this time. Take a look at what it did. Obviously I'm cutting the render out.
Hey chatbot. Hello JP. I can't help but notice the adorable cut videos.
James is in a spot and the cat's playing on the TV in the background like it's supposed to.
The kittens are certainly more welcoming. In fact, I am finding it hard to look away.
And his mouth no longer disappears. Alright. Now I'm going to close this project out, and I haven't actually found a good close function in this to close a project, so I just close the software and then reopen it and open my the other scene, which is just the other side of the cafe. So this is, imagine this is a second camera in the cafe, the one behind James. Instead of looking at James, now you're looking over his shoulder. This is running in real time now. It's no longer sped up. So what you're seeing is the time it takes for that to actually load in my computer. That's what that was there. And I had dropped a lot of the objects out of the background to help it run this scene pretty well. It fills the capabilities of the computer when it's all running together at this point. Also, I ought to mention all the renders that you keep seeing. I've deleted that time out of it, but there's some significant render time in there. What you're watching me do right here is get rid of the previous lines. I'm pulling up a scene from an older skit, a skit that I did a couple days ago, and I'm getting rid of the lines that were in it so that I can reuse the puppets. And they're just standing there talking to each other, so I don't necessarily need them to move around a whole lot. I just need to put new lines into them and rework the cameras. So I am collapsing the Morgan puppet. Turning her into one subscene and then hiding her because we're not going to use her for this particular piece. I appear to be trying to figure out where things are in my columns over there. I'm about to explode the background, I believe. So I'm taking the background subscene and it'll be at the very bottom, or close to the very bottom, because it's the background, of course. And it's all gone now, but whenever I tell it to open up, I'm going to explode that. Now you're going to, well, first you got to make it visible. So I just peeked inside to see what it looks like. Now I'm going to bring it back and make it visible, and I'm going to uncollapse it. I'm going to explode it. I don't want it in a subscene anymore. In Tahoma, it seems to work better if you don't have things collapsed. So I'm going to change what's on the TV because I want the cats to be on the TV. This video is about cat videos on the internet, so I'm going to drag the cat videos in. Again, this is a prepared MPEG. It's cut specifically to fit the time that I need here so that I don't have a whole bunch of extra frames. Drop that in. Now you're going to see this in real time, how long it takes. So sit back, you'll watch down there. If you watch in the timeline down there where my playhead is, whenever it finally imports, it will fill that line in with all the frames that make up that video. So whenever you pull a MPEG in 24 frames per second, it will drop each frame in at 24 frames per second. There it is. And again, whenever you import this video, it is best to tell it to do its thing and then hands off until it gets done, because I've found that pushing more buttons just upsets the software. Now I'm just resizing it so that the video I imported appears to fit that little TV screen that I got in the background there. That TV screen is actually part of the drawing. Like, it's not even its own thing anymore. It's all been flattened, so I can't even get that off there anymore. It's been there for so long, and doing what you're seeing me do here with the TV wasn't as easy to do in Adobe, so I didn't bother with that so much. And what I'm finding now is that it would have been nice to have made that screen an easier aspect ratio to skew to, because you'll see that as I try to resize it, I mean, it fits, but it doesn't fit perfectly. And for the production quality and the feel and look of my artwork, it's not the end of the world that it doesn't fit perfectly. In fact, it kind of helps goes along with the theme a little bit, so I don't really mind that it doesn't. But if you want it to fit better, it would have been better to have brought a TV screen into the picture and skewed it along with this, so it makes it look like they go together. I'm guessing that I put that on there in Illustrator. It's been so long, it's hard to remember, but I'm guessing I put that together with Illustrator quite a while ago and flattened it, so now it's just there. I could go through and paint over it and then put a new screen in. And if I ever decide that I want all that to line up better, then that's what I'll do. But I'm not unhappy with it. So now I'm drawing, I'm bringing in the audio lines.
The Cute Cat videos.
And I hit that TV screen. And I hit James. Having some of the things hidden helps the software.
We'll put a smile on your face.
James has a little bit of movement. His head moves a little bit. And the TV screen has a frame change every frame. So as I'm scrubbing around and whatnot, everything just runs a little smoother if you don't have so many things happening. And I'm going back and forth.
We are trying to create a warm and welcoming environment. The advertisements flashing on the screens are less than welcoming.
You see I'm looking for kind of that right there. I'm looking for that particular cat that sticks his head in the water. And that's where that last group of lines go. So that it matches up with the other side. Basically, it makes it look like they're watching the same video on their TVs.
Okay, well, yes, there is that too. We got it here now. We don't want to look away.
So as I drop these lines in, you can see as I scroll about the columns there.
JP got off for 2 hours ago.
Chatbot to drop Chatbot's lines in, and JP to drop his lines in. You see that all their parts, all the puppet parts, have been exploded. Again, I've had difficulties dealing with the subsets in their lines, so I just explode the characters.
We are trying to create a
into the main X sheet, and we are lip syncing Chatbot's lines here. You got to make sure to scroll all the way out to the right. Look for that last frame. See where it drops the mouth off right there. All you got to do is delete that. I don't know why it does this, but it's something that must be done with these. Do the same thing with JP.
We are trying.
The cute cat.
So characters are taken care of. And and making camera adjustments, getting rid of the keyframes that were set into it. And looks like I'm going to change the aspect ratio because it's 1080p, but it's horizontal, not vertical. And I make these for YouTube Shorts, so it has to be vertical. I'm going to change the aspect ratio of the camera so that it comes out as a vertical. And I'm trying to get the, at this point, I am working out not just where the camera is pointing, but trying to get the timing, because I want the camera to look over at the clock. The clock's not even visible yet, but it's all hidden. But that's where this is all going.
Okay, well, yes. The cute cat videos will put a smile on your face.
We are
I
trying
spent all
to
that time
create
and
a
all I did was
warm
just
and
get the
welcoming
camera to
environment.
settle from the
The
start.
advertisements
Now I'm
flashing
looking
on the
for that
screens are
area
less than
where, at the
welcoming.
end, where I want the camera to make some movement. So I'm trying to locate that spot where I want the movement to start.
Okay, well, yes. There is that too. We got it here now. We don't want to look away.
JP got off work 2 hours ago. JP, so.
Alright, now we're going to bring the original clock. This is the stage clock back up, and I don't want to destroy that, so I'm going to duplicate it. And then I'm going to hide it, and then I'm going to work on the duplicate. So whatever, the stage clock works just fine. It does what it's supposed to do, so I don't want to change that. So I will make the duplicate, and we will make changes to that one. Now it'll give me something to aim the camera to. I know where the camera's going. And here is the beginning of a long sequence where the goal here is to create the illusion of time passing. And we've seen it's kind of a cliche shot where the clock starts to take off and move faster. So that was my thought process on this, was the camera's going to move over to the clock, and the clock speeds up, and that's going to create the idea that time passes. So that's what you're about to see here. Now, my original thought process on this, for some reason, didn't seem to want to work. In Adobe, you could put rotation greater than 360, and that would create a circle that was better than it would go more than 360 then. So if you wanted to go around twice, you'd put 720. So, and I didn't see that seemed to work in this here. So I created that motion kind of by hand by keyframing it, and you'll see that that's what I'm working on right now, is trying to figure out how to get the keyframes to make the hands appear to speed up. So, and this actually takes me a bit of time. So if you sit back and enjoy for a moment, you can follow as I work back and forth through the keyframes on the clock to create a speed up. Yeah, after the rotation, putting numbers into the rotation didn't work. I had to kind of work out what to do here, and that's basically what you're watching me do, is try to work out how to get around that problem. And it takes me a good 15 minutes or so.
Okay. Okay, well, yes, there is that too. We got it here now. We don't want to look away.
JP got off work 2 hours ago.
There's probably a few ways to go about this. I kind of feel like this is probably about the most clunky way to go about it I could have found. Using keyframes to create the arc creates a few different problems, like timing between the keyframes themselves. The handles speed up and slow down at different rates as it goes around. I'm sure that there is a way to make the rotation numbers work. just like I would have done in Adobe Animate, but I couldn't quite figure that out, so this was my solution for that.
Got it here now. We don't want to look away.
JP got off work 2 hours ago.
Okay. Well, yes. There is that too. We got it here now. We don't want to look away.
JP got off work 2 hours ago.
Alright, so I finally got all that worked out, and now I'm going through and fixing the camera. Trying to get the timing and the motion on that swing worked out. And it looks like it's time to give it a render and see what happens here. Again, I cut these renders out, and you see me set it up, and then I launch it, and I just stop recording. So that render is actually taking somewhere, depending on how much of it I'm rendering. If I render the whole 1500 frames, it's taking up upwards near an hour and a half at this point. Adobe didn't take near that long to render, but Adobe also rendered on the quad-core processor in my laptop, whereas Tahoma renders off the NVIDIA card. So it takes quite a bit longer on the NVIDIA card than it does off the quad-core. And we're going to take a look, see how that came out.
The cute cat videos will put a smile on your face.
We are trying to create a warm and welcoming environment. The advertisements flashing on the screens are less than welcoming.
Okay, well yes, there is that too. We got it here now. We don't want to look away.
JP got off work 2 hours ago.
And I can see that I didn't like the way that the speed at which that swung over and back. It was too quick. So now I'm going to go back in and slow that camera motion down a little bit so that I can get into it and break into it a little easier. show a little bit more of that clock motion, basically, is what I'm looking to do. There's where the camera starts to move. Spread that out. Take. Now it'll sit there a little bit longer. Something I'm learning as I go here, because the processing time, Adobe was much quicker. I mean, I'm taking an hour and a half to do 1,500 frames. It was probably like, I mean, like, go and fill your coffee up type of time with Adobe. Not very long. So you could try something and then see that it didn't work properly and then make adjustments on it and then go back and just tell it to render again. You could do that over and over again and not eat up too much time, whereas with Tahoma, an hour and a half a shot, you got to be more picky about the frames you render, and I'm learning that. Not adhering to it very well yet, but I'm learning that making sure that you render those frames that you need and not all the extra ones around
The Cute Cat videos will put a smile on your face.
We are trying to create a warm and welcoming environment. The advertisements flashing on the screens are less than welcoming.
Mistakes, but to go back 3, 4, 5, 6 times and keep rendering the same thing, an hour and a half at a time, there's no way. You can't be doing that. So it's real important.
Okay,
to go
well,
through
yes,
and figure out what
there is
mistakes
that
you
too.
made and
We got
decide
it
what
here
changes
now.
you wanna
We
make
don't want
and
to look
make
away.
sure to get them all fixed.
JP got off work 2 hours ago.
Okay, so that sits there a little bit better, and the clock takes off and spins around. That's much better, and then it goes back. Okay, that's exactly what we wanted to happen. Now I need to come in one more time, and I'm going to isolate the clock. So when we do this sequence here, and we lay these pieces out together, the clock is going to it's going to fade into the isolated clock. You can see where the camera is pointed. It's already up there. So it'd take me a couple minutes, but I just need to work out the timing that I need to be rendered.
JP got off work 2 hours ago.
I just need to work out what frames I need. And we're going to render out the isolated clock. Alright, so that's rendered. Take a look at that. It should look like the clock with no background around it, taking off and going fast, and it does, so we're good there. Alright, so now we've got all the bits and pieces of our clip. So it's time to close out Tahoma and open up DaVinci. If I open up an old file that had all the settings and everything, it has the cafe background music already laid in there, and it has all the export settings and the aspect ratios. All I got to do is delete and then save it as the new file name, and it saves a little bit of time of pulling some things in. If you do this a lot, eventually the clip library gets to be huge. Something to keep in mind. You wind up with this crazy clip library, and you only need one clip or 2 or 3 clips out of each of these. So I'm guessing that probably affects the way that it runs in the long run. I'm not 100% certain. So what I'm doing now is working out the James fade in. So if you remember right, I had that B-roll clip where it scrolled out where James was not there. I left the camera, I kept the camera position in the same spot. Then I dropped James in and put his lines in and rendered it again. So now we're going to drop James in where he's rendered. So we got the B-roll clip in there where it scrolls out or zooms out of the TV and lands. Now we put James in there and trim off the frames that we don't need off the beginning of that. Go into between the two of them. When you right click on that, it'll give you the option to crossfade for 1 or 2 seconds or half a second, I believe. And I just tell it to crossfade for however long I felt. Whatever made me smile for the time. So now, because I didn't move the camera,
Hey chatbot.
James just
Hello,
fades into a
JP.
spot there.
I can't help
doing his
but
lines.
notice the adorable
So that worked out
videos.
nicely. Now I gotta go and cut this up. Cut this clip up and grab the other clip, the other camera view, and then we start mixing the pieces together.
Help but notice the adorable cut videos.
The Kit Kat videos will put a smile on your face.
We are trying to create a warm and welcoming environment. The advertisements flashing on the screens are less than welcoming.
Zooming it in and out of that timeline, I feel like there's a easier way to go about doing that, because I do a lot of zooming in and out of the timeline to try to drag pieces around, so I haven't found any keyboard shortcuts for that yet. Might be something I look for and share at some point if I ever get there, because you certainly do a lot of zooming in and out. You're watching me go about that right now as I try to decide where to cut
The
to cut
advertisements
clips off,
flashing on the
and
screens are less than
just to
welcoming.
go grab the next piece and whatnot.
The
It takes a
kittens
lot
are
of zooming in
certainly
and
more
out.
welcoming. In
I'm
fact,
guessing
I'm
that there's an
finding it
easier
hard
way
to
to go
look
about
away.
doing it than going up to that control button up there.
I'm finding it hard to look away. I'm finding it hard to look away.
Okay, well, yes, there is that too. We got it here now. We don't want to look.
So now we're coming up into the area. This is where all the remaining work comes together.
Well, yes, there is that too. We got it
One
here
of the
now.
main
We don't
goals of
want to
this
look away.
project was to create that time lapse effect,
JP got off
with
work
the
2
clock.
hours ago.
and this is the area where I put the pieces together to make that work. I didn't build the animation quite the way I thought that I would, but that occurs sometimes whenever you make these things. You encounter a problem, you just work around it. So this basically is going to work by setting up a series of crossfades. The original clip crossfades into the clip that has the isolated clock, and then the isolated clock rolls. It fades into a blackened frame, and then that will fade right back into the original shot where they are standing there watching the cat videos again. So the idea is they were watching cat videos, and now time's passed and they're still watching cat videos. And that's how the cat videos work. trying to make sure I get any extra frames trimmed off of there. You'd be surprised, one little frame, and you don't know what you've seen, but you know you've seen something if there's a missed frame in there somewhere. So there's the initial fade. I'm going to drop in a black screen. I decided to go ahead and put a little bit of text into it, so I drop a title into the black. Pretty basic. So as I'm going through here, you're trying to remember that there's 24 frames per second. So, how long do you want these things to linger around? A couple seconds of this, a couple of seconds of that. And that's kind of what's going through my head as I go time this stuff out. If you don't like it, you can always go back and make adjustments. That's kind of the trick. But as I go through, that's kind of what you're watching me do. I'm trying to decide how far each of these should go and then run them together. So that was pretty much it there. Now I'm bringing back in that last bit of that clip and stitch that together. There's some quirkiness with DaVinci, and it could be with an excessive amount of things open on my computer, or lack of restarts, or any number of those things. But the timeline and the viewer are not perfectly synced, so sometimes you'll scroll a little bit and it'll take a moment for the image to catch up. So sometimes you'll see me sit there for a second, and that's what I'm waiting is for DaVinci to catch up. Believe it or not, Adobe had some of these same problems too. So this is I'm actually kind of used to this with the video editing software. In fact, Adobe Premiere was prone to crashes. It was one of the more crash-prone pieces of software that I ran. Animate would run like a beast for days and days and days. I could just open one project after another, and it seemed like it just kept chugging. But Premiere, it had some real tight limits, and once you hit a threshold, it crashed. All this what I'm doing right here, I'm guessing that at this time here, DaVinci was giving me a little bit of issues with the viewer trying to get things lined up. Now I'm just working the fade out, getting the endings done, wrapping up the sequence. Bring the audio back in. The cafe soundtrack. That piece was produced by me, so it's not my piece. I believe that's a Joe Zawinul arrangement. Piece is called Take 5. It's a nice little classical gas piece. I thought it fit nicely into the cafe, and I own the rights to recording. So, and I don't know how YouTube does that with the music though, because just because you played the music and you recorded the music doesn't mean the music belongs to you. I've got some classical pieces that I posted, and YouTube has said that this arrangement belongs to RCA or whoever it is
Hey
that
chatbot.
owns the arrangement.
Hello,
And
Jake.
we're talking like Bach
I
pieces
can't
or
help
something like
but
that I
notice the
produced.
adorable cut videos.
So now I'm
The cute cat videos
sampling
will put a smile on your
the
face.
We are trying to create a
video
warm and
rough
welcoming
in
environment.
DaVinci.
The advertisements flashing on the screens are less than welcoming.
The kittens are certainly more welcoming. In fact, I am finding it hard to look away.
Okay, well, yes.
DaVinci renders
There is that
fairly
too.
quity
We got it here now. We don't want
for
to
these
look away.
minute-and-a-half clips that or these 1 minute clips that we do
JP
here.
got all for 2
It won't
hours
take
ago.
probably any more than 30 or 40 seconds for this to render. You can see that things don't run very smoothly. You can't really see what it looks like 100% DaVinci. But it only takes a couple minutes to render, so it's not a big deal. Go into the export menu. Make sure it goes someplace that you can find it again. It's like setting your keys down and forgetting where you put them after you render something and go back to open it up and it's not there. I just did this. Where could it be? And this is all in real time, so you're watching it render in real time here. That was that. Now I'm going to pull it up and take a look at it and see what we got.
Hey chatbot. Hello, JP. I can't help but notice the adorable cut videos.
The cute cat videos will put a smile on your face.
We are trying to create a warm and welcoming environment. The advertisements flashing on the screens are less than welcoming.
The kittens are certainly more welcoming. In fact, I am finding it hard to look away.
Okay, well, yes. There is that too. We got it here now. We don't want to look away.
JP got all for 2 hours ago.